Hi everyone, this is KK Downing, formerly of Judas Priest, and you're listening to Cobras and Fire podcast. You know what that's all about. Great music, great conversation, so crank it up as loud as you can.
You're listening to the Cobras and Fire podcast, part of the Decibel Geek Podcast Network, featuring special guest, formerly of Judas Priest, guitar player KK Downing. So don't go heading out to the highway because we get locked in on Painkiller. Welcome to Cobras and Fire. My name is Baco, and holy balls am I excited for the interview I have for you today. Like so many of you listening, Judas Priest was the soundtrack to my youth. Man, I can remember doing my paper route in blizzards with my little Walkman cranking Defenders of the Faith, Screaming for Vengeance, British Steel, all the classics. So being afforded the opportunity to talk to KK was not something I was going to pass up. And I'm not going to lie, for a while there, it looked like it wasn't going to happen, but everything got worked out, and I had a fabulous conversation. We talk about his new book, Heavy Duty, his time in Priest, what he's been up to for the last 6 or 7 years, and so much more. If you're a fan of Judas Priest, if you're a fan of this show, I guarantee you're going to love it. Without further ado, let's get to it. KK Downing, formerly of Judas Priest, here on Cobras and Fire. I'd like to welcome to the program metal perfumer, author, and, of course, legendary former guitarist for Judas Priest, KK Downing. How's it going, KK?
All good, Baco, all good, mate, as long as you guys are all good over there on the other side of the Atlantic.
Yeah, where am I talking to you from right now?
Yeah, I'm in the UK. I'm at home.
Okay. Do you consider yourself retired? Like, what's a typical day for KK Downing right now?
Yeah, no, I'm far from being retired. I don't know where that phrase ever came from, really. I mean, I quit the band, and that was it. And since then, I haven't stopped running, I think.
Okay.
no, it's... but, I mean, I've just been kept so busy, really, doing all sorts of things. And then I decided to go and write a book. I don't know. The things I get myself into.
Well, the book comes out on September 18th. It's called Heavy Duty. When did you start putting the book together?
Last year, actually.
Oh, so it came together fairly quick then.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Like I say, I'd been asked many times since I quit the band, but said no. And then as the years rolled by, I thought, well, maybe I should, I'll put something down in writing, for various reasons.
Okay. I mentioned that you're, of course, now a perfumer. I'm talking about your Metal for Men cologne. How does someone make that transition from being the guitar players in Judas Priest to making men's cologne? I mean, how did that come in?
I don't know, really. I quit the band, then I met this guy, and, had a few beers in the pub. The next thing you know, it sounds like a good thing, Metal for Men, we travel the world to a lot of countries, and a lot of guys could do with something, because you go to a lot of countries and there's a lot of pretty girls there, but some of the guys, we have a tough time. I was the same. I used to go to so many music festivals, and you could never afford anything, so I thought I'll make something that guys can afford and smell up a bit. If you have to spend a few nights in a tent, why not?
That's actually a great concept if you think about it. A metal, kind of like a horse bath for metal fans. Just kind of make yourself smell a little better each morning. Right.
Yeah. Do your girlfriend a favor, guys?
Yeah, no doubt.
Very cool.
One of the things about the Judas Priest catalog that I've always found fascinating is that the band kind of continued to evolve during your time there. Early on, it was kind of more of a straight-ahead classic sound, but it seemed with, I'm probably not the first to say it, but with Killing Machine was kind of where that kind of metal sound kind of developed. Was that kind of by happenstance, or was that kind of like by design? You guys were starting to sense that this was going to be more of the way you wanted to go.
Yeah, I think we were evolving, we were growing up and evolving, really, honing our skills and feeling our way. And, of course, to start with, you've got 5 individuals that kind of all, as much as we were kind of generally united musically, everybody does think about things a bit differently when they bring ideas and for songs to the table, and it's very much a kind of, you're going forward, it's a kind of a vetting exercise to see what's acceptable, what's allowed in and what isn't allowed in. And so you go through that process, I think, that needs to be gone through for most bands. And as I say, as time goes on, you kind of, fit into some kind of category, some kind of niche, and you unanimously decide, a direction going forward. And once it's, certified, established, and I think for Priest it was probably British Steel that brought it all together for us, really, with the look, the name of the band, the razor blade on the album cover, and the music on the album. For the first time, collectively, it came together with force, really, in that year, 1980.
On Killing Machine, do you know why that was changed to Hellbent for Leather as far as the title in the United States?
Yeah, I think it was just considered to be a bit, in the UK it was fine because, for one reason or another, we don't have guns in the UK, and,
okay.
And it was, I don't know, it was just something that...
A record label decision kind of deal, or?
Yeah, I think so. So we said, not a problem, really, in fact, on reflection, I really like Hellbent for Leather. It was very, very kind of fitting, really. So, for the time, that was quite befitting as well,
Kind of a random question. How much money do you suppose Gull Records got reissuing your first two records over and over again?
I think more than I like to think, to be honest, but it's more than I like to think. Whatever it was definitely more than we got, that was for sure.
Yeah, I heard the story there, but, Dave Holland was probably the first drummer you guys had that stuck around for a little bit. Did you guys ever get credited for the self-combusting drummer in Spinal Tap? Do you know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah, no, I don't think they ever did, really, but yeah. I love that movie, but it's just too close to the bone.
Too true. Well, during the 80s, I think you guys are riding pretty high. I don't remember hearing too much about Priest being like an off the rails kind of party band. Were drugs a big issue with you guys at all?
No, I would have to say no. Like I say, it wasn't a thing for Priest.
Okay.
There was an abundance of all of that going on. That's all I could say. The last thing I want to do is sound like some do-gooder type of person, but for me, I kind of went through those kind of peer pressure type of situations and all of that happening in the 60s, really. In the Flower Power, people would smoke joints, and this, that, and the other bit. So, as a fan, as a music fan, before I ever played shows or did anything, I would have to say some experimentation went on, but, I can say that safely now without getting arrested, can't I?
Yeah, I think the statute of limitations is up there.
Yeah, at my age, I think that's it. It's they don't make cells for people of my age these days, do they?
Me either,
a nice cozy armchair with some slippers and a pipe and a television and the sports paper.
Yeah.
So, it was just one of those things.
Yeah.
Just to just to finish, I had an adversity to it going on. It didn't work with what I thought, we should be bringing to the table, really, as special representatives from the UK and all about playing some great shows, and being completely comprehensive while it was going on.
Yeah, well, fair enough. That jives with my memory. I just don't remember. Some bands get notorious for some of their party, and I just don't remember hearing anything like that about Priest.
We had the parties, mate. We had the parties, but it was kind of plenty of beer and whatever else was in the room at the time going on. Plenty of all of that. Oh yeah, no doubt about that.
Are you familiar with the movie Heavy Metal Parking Lot?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with it. Yeah, I've seen quite a few episodes.
How did it make you feel watching that? Was it something positive, or is it kind of like, eh?
No, it's all good. In fact, it's legendary now, isn't it? Really,
yeah.
You know that.
I met the filmmakers about a year ago.
Yeah, well, so much of it is real, isn't it? You can't shun it or steer away from it. It is what it is. I can remember driving through those parking lots, to get to a gig.
Yeah.
It was.
I can remember being one of those guys in the parking lot, if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. As a fan, I was exactly the same. You just have to do it.
Going forward a little bit from there, because I think that was recorded on the Turbo tour, but with Turbo and Ram It Down, those are, at least from my perspective, again, probably not the most unique opinion, but your poppiest records, and then you kind of come back with that pretty blistering record in Painkiller, which could almost be seen as an overcorrection. Had you guys felt like the band had lost its way by the end of the 80s?
Yeah, I think we did the Turbo album, then we did the Ram It Down album, which I really do. I still think kicks ass. I think it's got so much energy, that record. But Dave had left the band. Dave Holland had quit, and it enabled us then to get Scott into the band. We found out about Scott, and obviously with the addition of Scott with his double kicks and everything he could bring to the table, enabled myself and Glenn to expand our writing techniques, really, in respect of drum patterns and tempos and stuff. So I guess one thing led to another, really. And suddenly we were able to create, the beast that is the Painkiller album, I guess, really, Even though we didn't really know what we were creating at the time. I think a lot of bands don't. I swear to God, I think about when Pink Floyd were doing Dark Side of the Moon. Did they think we know that we're creating the biggest selling record ever in history? I mean, they just wouldn't have had a clue. They would say we're just doing the best we can at the time.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what band. Yeah, I'm sure of it, because you can't. You don't have nobody has a crystal ball. But the Painkiller album wasn't a big instant success for us either. I think for a lot of fans it was a bit too edgy, maybe. Even heavier than stuff that that we'd done before. A lot of stuff on there.
It could be your heaviest record.
Well, musically we were using different. There's different musical entities crept in. A lot more stuff we were using for the first time. Well, not exactly for the first time, but more of Phrygian mode and diminished scales and whole tone, half tone, and harmonic minor stuff. And so our writing techniques were a bit different as well. So it sounded darker. Those scales and modes will be a bit darker. And so it goes on from there,
Did Rob, in any time in your career in the band, did he ever crash the Harley on stage?
Yeah.
Like really bad, or like just like a tap? Or, like, did you ever fall over and he's laying sideways?
Times when there were petrol in the tank as well in the early days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what did you guys do? Did you go run over to help him, or just keep playing?
Well, he was pretty able, but usually a couple of the crew members would dive on there and help out,
Okay. You guys were involved in what I think was probably, at least by memory, don't quote me on that, but was one of the last of the subliminal message trials that some of the bands got dragged into during that time. Did that have any? I know Rob quit shortly after that. Did that trial have any bearing on him leaving the band?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't know what was in Rob's mind at that time. To this day, I don't know, because it was different. People had different ideas. We thought that Rob probably wanted to do what Ozzy was doing. Ozzy had quite a lot of success doing his thing, and but I think that in between tours and records, Rob had made a lot of contacts. He procured someone that he knew to be his manager, and met other musicians and did things, and I think he just wanted to do it his way, to coin Frank Sinatra's, just do it his way, and was aspiring to do what Ozzy did, I guess, in a way. But we weren't too sure whether Rob was hungry to announce to the world that he was gay. I don't know whether he wanted to do that. We thought that might happen, but that never happened for quite a lot of years later.
Right.
So we were wrong about that. So Rob just disappeared for about 14 years, I think it was, doing his own thing. And of course, Glenn did a couple of records himself. And so it was dark times, really, for the band, Myself, I never had any interest in doing anything like that, really.
Okay.
I just wanted to anything worth anything of any value. I think justifiably from me would have been put into the band for the band's utilisation.
You did a couple records with Ripper, and then Rob eventually does come back. It was around 2005, and you do the I think is a fucking great record in Angel of Retribution, but then you followed it up with the concept record, which Nostradamus, which seemed odd for me at least, anyways. Was everybody on board with Nostradamus, the whole concept?
Yeah.
There? Okay, so
yeah, everybody was, but there's always lots of things that people don't consider, I think, irrespective of what every people want. It's not always the case that it's easy for us to deliver up that,
Yeah,
and
okay.
It's not always that easy. So rightly or wrongly, it was suggested to do a concept album that might, turn into a musical or doing something like that. But it was good for us to do that, and it was a great showcase for us as musicians, and particularly Rob, to even show how much more dynamics that he had to offer.
Yeah.
It was just something, before, you never know what's going to happen, because we were getting older, and to us, we're like nearly 10 years older now than we were then. But we were still kind of older guys then. You never know what's going to happen. So before it all ends, if you want to do something, you better do it now. It was like me. For the last 7 or 8 years, people have asking me, "Oh, do you want to write a book? Do you want to write a book? I'll write your book." And I've said no. And then, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you get to year 7 or 8, and you think, I'd better do it now, otherwise it might never get done. And so you do it. In 10 years' time, if I'm still here, somebody could say, "Why did you write a book?" So, well, I thought it was getting late in the day, mate. I think I need to do it before it's too late. So it kind of gets to be a bit like that, But the Nostradamus album, as a musical work, I'll stand by it 100%. Okay. I will stand by it.
Did you quit the band because you heard they were going to be on American Idol?
No.
Well, you dodged a bullet, if you ask me.
I would have said that's bullshit if it had been up to me. I think.
Man.
Can I say that? That's.
Well, it was kind of unceremonious. What was the straw that broke the camel's back for you with Priest?
Well, it was a lot of things. I wasn't too happy with how the band was. Everything seemed to have slowed down. Glenn was drinking his beers before going on stage, and in between every song, that started to be, an issue because I just felt nervous about on stage. I guess if you're going to fly an airline and with you and your buddies, co-pilots, you want everybody to be on board, right? Not just trying to have, you've got a responsibility, so. It's rock and roll. I'm not, I can't get on people's case for not being rock and roll, but it just didn't suit me. That was a big, because I found I wasn't enjoying the shows, and I guess obviously, it just seemed like Glenn and Jane were making the decisions, and it was. I just felt like I was working them. Felt I was employed a bit, and so I thought that was wrong. And being asked to make a 5-track EP, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it, and I didn't do it. And that was probably the last straw. I thought.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I'm glad the guys decided it was a bad idea, because it would have been a bad idea. But I'm being told, this is what we've got to do, and I'm thinking, no, we should vote democratically what we're going to do and what we're not, and let the case be heard, the fors and the against, So basically, I'm thinking, if that's the way it's going to be, it's yours. I'm out of here. Something's got to give, and that was it. I'd probably felt like that a fair few times, but I'd carried on. But I'm thinking, no, this is it. No more. It's got to be. I need to have a say in what's right and what's wrong.
Sure. And I assume you saw Ian Hill's explanation for why they never reached out for you about possibly rejoining with the issue with Glenn. What did you think of his reasoning?
Complete load of bollocks. Can I say that live on the air? Because I'd like to.
Sure. It's not. I mean, honestly, look, I'm not trying to start with anybody, but he may as well have just said we can't have two blonde guitar players on stage.
No, it's obviously, if I did rejoin the band, obviously I step into my role. That's where people would expect me to be. And Richie, who's already playing Glenn's stuff anyway, just steps over there, and we do that. It wasn't the case that I was going to play Glenn's parts and Richie plays mine. That just didn't. Ian, I'm thinking, Ian, was it too early in the day or too late in the evening when you came up with this idea? I don't know, but I don't know. Bless him, because we've been, we were like brothers. We went to infant school together, secondary school together, and we lived a career together. But I'm not totally happy about what's been said. Ian seems to be making, things like none of the fans are missing KK, and Richie's brought a new energy to the band. And so I'm going, Ian, dude, on that last tour, I was the energy. I slowed down because people weren't keeping up with me.
We actually use that as a joke on our show once in a while. Richie adds new energy to the band. It's my co-host is going to love that you dropped that in there.
Yeah, well, like I say, that's a true story, because I started off that tour. I played a few shows, and then Scott made a comment, and he said, "What do you mean, man? It's your show." And I'm thinking, does he think I'm trying to steal a limelight by doing what I've always done? So, then I started to back off, and then I was in an unhappy place from that point. I didn't want everybody to think that I was trying to steal the limelight,
sure.
When I wasn't. Because Rob's reading his auto cue, he slowed down. Glenn's going over there for a beer in between every song, and I'm thinking, I don't know, So I'm thinking, Ian, get a grip with yourself, mate. I mean, you've just replaced the energy with some energy. Fine, well, great. But that's not moving forward, Ian.
No, not at all. Well, the book, Heavy Duty, Days and Nights in Judas Priest, like I said, it comes out September 18th on DeCapo Press. KK, I really appreciate your time. They're telling me to wrap it up here a little bit. But obviously, if you enjoyed this conversation, you'll get all these stories and more in the book, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Bacco, it's been great talking to you, mate, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to all of the fans and the people out there
Sure.
that have supported us over the years. And, on a note, I just want everyone to know that I'm very grateful for the career that I've had. Total respect to all of my fellow bandmates. We've been partners, and we've been very successful. We owe it to everyone out there, so thank you very much for everything. Thank you very much. And please, if you are of a mind to check out the book, I hope you enjoy it.
Truly an honor, KK.
Thank you, mate. Hope to see you sometime.
All right, rock on.
Take care, bye.